Hey Techno Studs! In prior videos, I talked a lot about command line tools that you can use that can help you troubleshoot. In this video, we're going to talk about other software that can help you troubleshoot and other monitoring services that can help you troubleshoot. In this video, we're going to be talking about troubleshooting software. We'll be talking about types of monitoring, and then also some monitoring services that you can use on your network. So some software that can help you in this troubleshooting process would be protocol analyzers, bandwidth speed testers, port scanners, iPerf, TFTP servers, terminal emulators, and there's several more that can help out as well. These are the ones that we'll cover right now. Protocol analyzers is like a Wireshark. So we use Wireshark. You see in the videos that we do, you see how it can capture the data and we can dig in to see what's happening with the data. And we can also mirror some of these ports. So if we want to know what traffic is going between here, we can capture some of that data with that and then see, really drill down and see what's going on. Bandwidth speed tester, many times there's bandwidth issues, and so perhaps you just go to Google and type in speed test, or you go to Ookla and do a speed test from there and be able to test out to see what the bandwidth is doing and if you're struggling to get the bandwidth that you're paying for. A port scanner is software that can scan other machines. So I could take this machine and scan ports on this other machine to see what ports are open on the machine. And so that can also help determine if there's maybe ports that shouldn't be open on the machine or should be open. So you can get some information from there. This iPerf is some software that you can set up. It has both a client and a server side. So I could set up a client from on one network and maybe a server on the other network, and then measure the bandwidth and traffic in between those two. So we'll set up some streaming between these two devices to measure what kind of throughput that you're getting. So that's iPerf. Then you have the TFTP server. The TFTP server is similar to FTP server where you can store data on it. And so perhaps you're uploading logs to the TFTP server or configuration files, so that can be used to help troubleshoot these networks. And then you also have the terminal emulator. Let's say you're having some issues with slow network and you jump onto this switch using a terminal emulator. What that is it's simulating as if you're on that device, and you can enter commands into that device and see what information is being sent back. And a lot of times it will show you like debug information on there, and so you can start troubleshooting, or interfaces are flapping up and down, or be able to view the configurations, or there are different things you can do to help troubleshoot on that piece of equipment using a terminal emulator. Then you have Wi-Fi analyzer. A Wi-Fi analyzer will, if you're in here in a building, and you can analyze what kind of wireless signals you're getting there, which channels are being used, which bandwidths are being used, which devices are sending that out. So if you've got access points around your building, what are the MAC addresses of those access points? So it can help really tune your wireless network and figure out what's going wrong in your wireless network. There are many different types of monitoring, different ways that we can monitor this traffic. An example is ICMP, service monitoring, SNMP, event logs, NetFlow, packet capturing, analytics. So ICMP is like ping. I could actually set up, we talked about ping and pinging things. Well, there's some software that's what it does, is it will ping a device, and when it goes down, it can do some sort of notification and let you know that it's one of the great ways of when you're monitoring your network and you maybe have a service that's monitoring your network, and it just continually pings your equipment to see if it's even up. And so I have network monitoring tools that I have going all the time, and it will notify notify me, give me a text message or give me a call if something goes down. So that's the ICMP. You can leverage ICMP or some sort of service monitoring. It doesn't have to just be ping. It could be like if there's a web server and it's HTTP, you could have a service that's monitoring that HTTP, that service, or FTP, or whatever service it is. And it just continues to ask, okay, do you still have this web page available? Do you still have this web page available? Or maybe it's not just a simple, do you have this web page available? Maybe it's also monitoring how fast it responds. Or maybe looking in the web page for certain text inside the web page. One of our service monitors that I have will display a web page that will say unhealthy if something is going awry on the back end. So my service that I have is just monitoring it, and as long as it says healthy, it's fine. As soon as it turns to say unhealthy, then it will notify me and send me a message back. Then you have SNMPs, Simple Network Management Protocol. This is a protocol that can be used to gather information of your equipment. So maybe you have an SNMP server that's monitoring your devices here, and then it goes and requests information or pulls information, or this switch will send information to this device, and then you can start seeing like what's happening on that device. And there's monitoring tools that will monitor this as well. In fact, one of my tools will monitor the ping, the HTTP, it'll do SNMP, and the information it collects with SNMP is like, what is the CPU doing? What is the hard drives doing? What is the RAM doing? What is the other memory on the machine doing? Is there hard drives that are filling up? So it'll monitor all of these different, lots and lots of different aspects to the machine, and it does that through these SNMP messages. There are event logs, so your servers will have logs for the services that they have. And when something goes awry, you can go and check those event logs to see what is happening on those machines. And then it will give you some additional information in these event logs that you can go and look up. And a lot of times you'll have an event log per service that you have running on that machine, or there's some system-wide event logs that will be monitoring. And you can correlate between these different event logs to see what's happening and give you a full picture of what's happening on that machine. So there's event logs. You have NetFlow. NetFlow will monitor the traffic going across the device. So for instance, maybe we have a firewall or a router here and we have NetFlow turned on, then that will deliver information. Maybe we have a laptop that it's being delivered to, and then we can monitor what's happening going across that connection right there. Maybe we're monitoring for some sort of security issue or for some sort of performance issues that we're having. Packet capturing, like we mentioned before, it's like Wireshark, that you can use Wireshark to capture these packets and see what's going on with that. And then you have analytics. I put in here analytics. So there's a lot of times you'll install things like on web pages. If you have a web server, then you will probably want to see what the analytics are on that. So you install different programs. So Google Analytics is an example of this. And it will measure things like you will put code in your web page that when customers then reach that web page, it will go into this code and give that information to Google and saying, this is how long that information took to download. I am now connected to this service. I am having this kind of experience with this service. So it'll report certain things back to Google Analytics, and then you jump onto Google Analytics and see how the performance of your web browser is doing. And so there's several different types of analytic programs that are out there, and they function all a little differently. But that's one example of how you can monitor what the customer is actually experiencing, because a lot of these doesn't necessarily emulate what the customer experience. These analytic programs will actually report back on how fast the customer downloaded a page and how fast it's working, and what pages they visited, and gives you all sorts of great information. Now, there was a lot of different types of data we could collect. We could collect, we mentioned ping and HTTP and log there's logs on different machines. And the problem is that there's a lot of these different information out there that we can collect for troubleshooting. But if we've got to go to every single piece of equipment for that troubleshooting, that could be problematic. And so there's some ways that we could work this to actually get better information. Like we could set up a syslog server. We could set up a syslog server, and then we would get logs. We get information being sent to the syslog server, so that way we could gather information. There's also I've used some log aggregation services like Splunk. And what that would be is I'd set up a server on here, and then all of the logs of the machines would then go and connect into and would deposit, or this machine would go reach out and grab the logs and all put it in one spot. And the advantage of that is now you can start doing searches and seeing what all of your logs are doing when you have a problem, some sort of issue, and you can see like maybe it's a cascade of issues. This happens, and then this happens, then this happens, and a log aggregator will pull that all into one spot, and so you can analyze that. I always like to have some sort of like if I've got a web server right here, some sort of monitoring service out in the cloud that's monitoring this server right here. Maybe it's just checking that web page. Once again, maybe it's checking something specific, some sort of word on there, or some sort of button or something specifically on that. And so that way it will notify me if things go down, and it tests from all around the world. So I get reports from everywhere in all around the world, letting me know if my service is going down, and if it does go down, if it's just in certain countries that it goes down, or if it's in this country, or so and some sort of outside monitoring service can be really helpful, so you get notifications faster than they come from the customer. Or perhaps it's at night and your customers aren't online at night. You can actually fix it before they are online. So it can be really helpful to have these services set up. And then some of the services I use do like real-time monitoring, where they have some sort of something embedded into the web page that will report back to the service. And so similar to the Google Analytics that I explained before. So there's a lot of different types of monitoring services out there, whether it's a server you can set up on your network that will collect this data, or our service up in the cloud, or I've even seen a combination of the two, where there's part of the service is local and part of the service is in the cloud, and then you log into it and it will aggregate all of that information so you have it all pulled together. But it's definitely, if you are running enterprise networks, then you're going to need some sort of monitoring services to make sure that you are up and running and that you're not having issues. All right, there you have it. So we talked about some troubleshooting software, things that can help you troubleshoot your networks to see what's going on besides the command lines that we've already covered. And then we talked about some types of monitoring that you can do, different technologies that are out there that can help you monitor, and then some monitoring services. So thanks for joining me, and we'll catch you on the next video. If you like this video, could you hit that like button?